Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Energy Speaks Back, powered by B2B Energy. My name is Paul Webb, the founder of B2B Energy, and I'm also your host. Each week, I bring to you energy experts from around the world. This is episode 182. Our purpose, as always, is to provide a good understanding of energy management knowledge from around the world, which is available today for us to deliver savings that impact on our planet. Welcome, energy enthusiasts, to another enlightening episode of Energy Speaks Back. Today, we focus on sustainability within the community, and we are joined by a sustainability leader right here in Castle Point, Essex, who is a key leader driving environmental initiatives and supporting both residents and businesses on their sustainability journey. As we explore Castle Point's sustainability journey themselves, we are joined by an expert who has been selected to support and drive the solutions to this challenge. She plays a central role in shaping and delivering the borough's environmental strategy. Her work supports residents, businesses and community groups with practical guidance and policy direction, implementing measurable progress across areas such as energy efficiency, waste reduction and climate resilience. This conversation shows how her leadership, collaboration and commitment to enabling real local change. I'm particularly excited about this episode because although I've been travelling around the world podcasting and meeting energy leaders from every corner, today I'm actually on my own territory, right here in Castle Point, Essex, giving back to the community I live in. So without any further ado, let's go local with Grace Labeodan. Good afternoon, Grace. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you very much, Paul. Thank
Brilliant.
you for having me.
Thank you for inviting me to your offices today. It's really nice. It's funny, the only time I get involved with this office is when I'm talking about my sort of community tags and things like that, but it's such a hub. This is like your head office, isn't it, for the Castle Point?
Yeah.
And how long have you been working here?
Not very long, actually. Coming up to 3 months, so just a little bit over 2 months now, nearly 3 months.
Right. And you're enjoying the transition because we're going to learn about your journey shortly.
Yeah.
But have you enjoyed the transition into working for a local council?
I really enjoy working for a local authority.
Yeah.
I think for me personally, it's really nice to be close to communities, and that's kind of my passion. My bread and butter is being close to communities, helping residents, local people, the public engage with environmental issues or sustainability, that kind of thing. So in as much as I work on programs and projects in regards to that, really, I just really love when people get involved and they want to take action and supporting them to do that.
It really makes a difference, isn't it, when
Yeah.
you're doing it at that level?
Yeah.
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 So Grace, we met a couple of weeks ago and we had a long conversation. You told me all about your career and I got very excited, didn't I? I got to interview you. So for the benefit of our audience today, can you tell us about your origin story and sort of what brought Grace into this world of sustainability?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've always really been passionate about social impact, social justice, and so that's sort of been my interest. So I did a law degree up in Manchester.
Wow.
That was really interesting, and I thought I would become a lawyer. Actually, I thought I'd become a humanitarian lawyer.
Right.
I kind of wanted to work on human rights law and kind of support vulnerable people, vulnerable communities who were like in dire straits. Anyway, I did the degree. I loved it. It was really interesting. And then I worked as a paralegal for a year and kind of got to see what it was like to actually work in a law firm. And I thought, maybe that's not for me.
Really?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of red tape and bureaucracy in the legal. I mean, it is law, so you've got to follow the rules, and there's specific things you've got to do. So I decided that maybe that wasn't the route that I would take, but I was still really passionate about social justice and social impact. So I went back to university and did a master's degree in international development, which had an arm on global environmental change and development. Right. And so when I did that course, that's when I thought, oh, this is where I want to be, and this is the route that I want to go down. Granted, I didn't really know what a career in kind of sustainability or environmental issues would look like, but I knew for sure that I was passionate about doing something in the sustainability space.
Yeah. When I teach you around about sustainability, the course, was it global or do they focus on like the UK? How does that set out?
My specific course was global, so a lot of the kind of theories and I guess programs and projects that we were looking at and analysing were global issues. So talking about different countries that potentially could be underwater in the next 20 or 30 years as a result of, you know, a rapidly changing climate.
Yeah.
Talking about the impact of increasing temperatures and which specific communities in which specific countries would be more impacted and which countries maybe have a little bit more resource to support themselves and to withstand climate change.
Yeah.
So that was more the angle that my course took. So it was definitely more from an international lens and more from a global lens and less specific to it being like in the UK or even like Europe really.
And how have you transitioned that back into the UK? Was it an easy journey or was it quite tough aspects?
It was relatively easy, I would say, just because there is a lot of transition. I mean, climate change is happening all over the world.
So there's lots of common ground, isn't there?
There's lots of common ground, and there are vulnerable communities everywhere, even in wealthy countries like the UK. There are many people who are maybe more impacted by climate change issues because of where they live. For example, I work here in Castle Point, and there are communities that maybe are more they are more risky to maybe being impacted by flooding, for example, just because of where they live, not necessarily because...
Canvey Island's on my mind because it's below sea level, isn't it?
There you go, exactly. And it's not necessarily because it's a deprived area or because it's poor, it's just because of the geography and the location. So that's where the link and the crossover is with kind of my interest in climate change,
Yeah. And this transition, so here we are, we've done your degree in law, you've started to move into sustainability. What happened then?
So after doing my master's, I had a job at a local charity, and that role again was more of an entry level role, but it was an opportunity for me to see how charities work, how they support local communities, fundraising, that sort. So there were different aspects of the charity that I got to witness in terms of the operations side of things. Then COVID happened. You know, it impacted the way we do things. That impacted
sustainability, didn't it?
Impacted sustainability massively, but I was really fortunate. During the pandemic, I got a role with an organisation called Client Earth, and they are an environmental law charity, and they basically they encourage governments or they encourage institutions to be more mindful about the impacts that they have on countries. So one of the team that I joined was the forest team, and you know they also are lawyers who work at Client Earth. So you know they do take certain people or governments to court. So being part of the forest team was the first time that I really got to understand how nature impacts the way we experience climate change. So for example, that was where I learned that forests were a carbon sink. Interestingly, did not come across that in my degree. But when I worked at Client Earth and, you know, understanding how protecting nature, planting trees in certain areas, how that can be a way of reducing our carbon emissions and ensuring that we live healthier lives. So that was an opportunity to mix both my legal side of things and also the environmental side of things. I then did a little segue to Canada. Did you know that, Paul?
No, I didn't.
No?
You didn't tell me that one the other week.
Yeah, so after working at Client Earth, I had an opportunity to again work at another charity, but this time abroad. So I went over to Canada and I worked at Environmental Defence. Again, nature protection, the environment, but this time I got to see how climate change and sustainability was done in a different part of the world. And that was where my real interest in working with local people came about. So upon returning back to the UK, I thought to myself, I want to work with people on the ground. I want to work with local communities, with local residents. I want to support people in taking climate action. And the best way to do that was by working with a local authority. And that's how my transition into working with councils began.
So have you worked for other local authorities before you come here?
Yep. So this is my third council now. Yeah. So
that's interesting.
I worked at a council in Southwest London to begin with, and that role was within the climate change and sustainability team, but it was actually a partnerships role.
Right.
So I effectively served as a collaborator. I collaborated with businesses, with local people, schools, anyone who had a little bit of interest in the environment or sustainability. My role was effectively to facilitate conversations, bring in different people together. What can we do? How can we share knowledge? How can we ensure that we're not just working in silos, doing our own thing in different ways, but the local authority was the gateway of doing that, ensuring that I could speak to businesses, I could speak to school leaders to see how they are encouraging young people to be more climate conscious. I could support just local residents who had an interest and maybe they wanted to plant trees or they wanted to do litter picking, whatever the case might be. Yeah. So my role was more of a collaborative and a facilitating role within the local authority.
And is that similar to your role now, what you're doing now, or has it moved on? Because you mentioned the word silos. Are each of the authorities working in different silos, or is there a common ground there? Are they trying to work together?
I think it varies place to place. There is still a lot of siloed working, but I do think that local authorities are in a really good position because they're close to the public, they're close to residents, and
they're the coalface, aren't they? Of it
exactly.
Yeah.
And people, I mean, they'll complain about council tax and potholes and the like, but residents will let you know what they think about things. And actually, the council can serve as a hub. This is what I've found out in my different employments now, that the council actually serves as a hub. It's a great place for residents to meet and to be. Yeah. So something that many local authorities do this already is they'll have a citizens' assembly. This is an opportunity for local people, residents, to come into the council and let them know what they think about the environment, about nature, about air quality, about biodiversity. What is the council doing about this? What do the members think about this? How can we work together? Who are the experts in our context, in our borough? Who has knowledge on energy, like yourself? Who has knowledge on biodiversity? Who do we need to speak to ensure that we can get projects and programs off the ground? So as my career has developed within local authority, it has become a lot more strategic. Yeah. So now at Castle Point, I have a more overarching strategic program lead, project lead role, if I can say. Yeah.
And would you say there's some significant projects that are being carried out in this authority currently? Yeah,
I think Castle Point is sort of starting to engage in a lot more community projects. Yeah. It's also looking inward as well and thinking about we
discussed that recently, didn't we?
Yeah. So where can the council reduce its own emissions? How do we ensure that we have an idea of what our energy usage is like and how we can reduce that? Again, who in the borough can we speak to? Who are the experts that we can bring in to support us with that? So there is both the internal side of things and also the external side of things. So my experience of working in partnership or working with different people, that kind of stakeholder
so you're bringing
management.
Them skills you had from before.
Exactly.
Collaboration is very important, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm bringing those skills, that stakeholder management, supporting different people, and just seeing, okay, if there is a gap somewhere within the borough, does the council have an idea of who it could bring in? So I might not know who to speak to about, say, for example, biodiversity, but there will probably be someone in the borough who cares very deeply about biodiversity, and I could reach out to them and say, hey, do you have a project in mind that we could support you with? A lot of it is also facilitating funding, seeing if there are any grants that we can use or that we can tap into. So there's more of like an overarching strategic stakeholder management role that I'm in right now, which I'm actually really enjoying.
How many, what's the population side of this authority as such, do you know?
Castle Point, I believe, has less than 100,000 people, right. I would say. Yeah, I think it's definitely less than 100,000 people. So as a borough, quite small, and as a council, quite small.
Yeah.
But that does not necessarily mean that there aren't people within the borough who care deeply about the environment.
When you look at the borough, we've got some big business clusters. We've got some areas that you mentioned that we've got challenges with Canby Island. We've got the Downs, and Hadley Downs. So we've got lots of areas that can be impacted by the environment to support the environment as well. So it's got everything, hasn't it, this borough?
And it provides an opportunity to be quite innovative. I think because there is so much happening, like you say, there is a business cluster, but then there are also, there are schools, there are colleges here. We've
got quite a few senior schools in this area.
Exactly. So it provides an opportunity to be quite innovative in what we do, what sorts of projects and programs we champion, and how we support local residents in taking climate action should they choose to. And
I was quite surprised that we had this role, because I've been dealing with Billy, and I know that
it's a new role.
Yeah,
it's a new role. That's
it's quite refreshing to see from my industry. When I look at this borough, I think, we moan about the community tax. We know all this money I'm paying out, and they don't clip the bins, or there's always this.
Potholes, the roads aren't safe.
We won't go to the potholes because I think I'm an EV driver, and I think EVs are causing some of the problems because they're too heavy. But that's another story. But we always moan as a what am I classed as?
Well, you'd be a resident.
You resident of the
of the borough.
Of the borough
you live
itself.
in the
So
borough,
I'm a resident. I live
here,
pay my my dues. But it's really interesting to see that other side.
Yeah.
I've been to this building quite a few times, officially and sort of personally, for signing on for my my documents for my living in this area. What's that called? The document for your registration, isn't it?
Oh, registration,
registration documents to say that I live in this particular, and I can vote and things like that.
Yes.
But it's quite interesting. I've come to this office probably about 3 or 4 times recently, just to discuss energy. And that's been quite refreshing, really, to be called upon to help. I think I've written some articles as well.
Yeah.
So it's quite a proactive approach this authority's taken.
And
seeing you come on board is exciting.
Are you finding there's an interest in kind of what you do?
Exactly. And I think it's quite good because there's a lot of experts that probably live in this area that can provide so much knowledge.
Yeah.
And why not go to the residents for that knowledge? I think that's, and the collaboration could be both ways. It could work really well.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that, I certainly in my role would love to see would be definitely more engagement with a diverse group of people.
Yeah.
So with business leaders, with school leaders, with just anyone in the local community who cares about the environment, cares about nature, and also is looking to maybe start some initiatives or, lead on some projects, particularly around community energy or anything like that. So I'm really keen to sort of engage with local people who want to take action, because I do think that when residents or local people are able to own something, then they feel the impact more because it's something that they're doing, as opposed to the council maybe telling them this is what you've got to do. You've got to put solar panels on your roof, or you now have to drive a hybrid car. But actually, I think when it comes from the residents, it comes from people. They're able to take more ownership of it.
I can imagine the pushback we would have got many years ago. You will use black bags for this type of rubbish and pink bags for this. Oh, and by the way, we're only going to collect them every other week.
Yeah.
Oh, that's no good to me. It means I've got to have my rubbish in my bins for 2 weeks rather than, I can imagine a pushback there. But now that was before, before the 2000s, we had then introduced that. But now it's going to be more of a two-way conversation.
Absolutely.
What's the best way of doing it? That's going to be more of the outcome of this, isn't it?
Yeah.
Going forward.
And ultimately, I think, the local authority is here to support and to facilitate. So really, I think it's important that residents and local people are at the heart of what we're doing. And so it then shows that we're not working independently of people, but we're working with people.
So I can see all the good stuff that's there. What's the challenges that you have in your role?
Challenges, there's always challenges, Paul. There's challenges around funding, around money. Local authorities across the country actually are, they're quite difficult
jockeying
financial
for
situations.
Money all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's challenges around funding, but also the topic of the environment, sustainability itself can be a little bit contentious because not everyone really understands. You know, there's a lot of, probably shouldn't say this, but there's a lot of jargon in the kind of work that I do, which maybe for just a local person can be a little bit confusing. So you'll hear this different terms, but you're not 100% sure what that means.
Well, we was talking about the word sustainable the other day.
Right.
How do you define sustainability? Because I was talking about I live a sustainability life regarding my bank balance, my life, and what I do. Well, that's not providing a sustainability life regarding planting trees, and it's two different things.
It's two different things. Also, we're in a time right now where there are, I tend to call it like the crisis of the crisis. Like there's so many crises that are happening.
Yeah.
We're in an energy crisis. We're in a cost of living crisis. Like there are so many things that people are really, really stretched. So sometimes I think the sustainability and environment conversation can come as, oh, this is another thing I have to do. Something else to add on to what is already a very overwhelming life. But I think to counter that, if people are able to see, more than likely you're probably already taking sustainable actions. You just might not know that you are.
Yeah.
And I think being able to say, you know, as well as doing this, it's good for the environment. Of course, it's good for your health potentially, but also it's good for your bank balance too. People always want to save money, so they're happy to know, oh, what steps can I take that will ensure that not only am I being energy efficient, for example, but actually over time I'll probably be saving more on my electricity bills, for example. So I think kind of bridging that gap, but there's also an education piece there as well. That's maybe also a challenge. So
I think education is, I would say, one of the biggest challenges, because I don't think we do enough in the schools to teach climate action. I don't think we do enough with the people who live in the residents, you know. And I think, but at the same time, I think there's too much talk around it. If we have a storm, oh, it's climate change. If it changing weather, oh, it's
climate change.
You know, it's straight away. People are, you know, blame culture. We have this blame culture, don't we? And it's like we have too much of that, and there's no real focus about how we could avoid it and slow it down. I don't. So for me, this probably isn't the right thing to say, but I don't think we can stop climate change. You know, I think we're heading into this area of climate change. However, I think we can slow it down. That has always been my approach. Slow it down to a point that we would go through this process, because the world or the planet has gone through all these changes anyway. We've had the Ice Age and all this. So it's constant cycle, basically.
And Earth is adaptable. The planet is adaptable. We'll adapt, but
nature's adaptable, isn't it?
Nature is incredibly adaptable, but also I think it gives us, as in people, an opportunity to really think about what we're doing, how we're living, how we are consuming, and if there is a better way to do it. You know, I think sometimes if you don't have enough knowledge, if you don't have enough education, you might not know that actually maybe there is a more sustainable way to live. Maybe I can make different choices that mean that, you know, I am making decisions that are better for the planet, also that are better for myself, better for my health. But I think you have to, again, you've got to join up those dots. You know, there's a common thread around why we want to live more sustainably, you know?
Do you think, you mentioned the magic word of COVID earlier, do you think we, as people, human beings, do you think we learned a lot from that time?
I think.
Did you not notice, I felt that the planet started to heal. We were seeing fresh water in the seas, the air was better. There's lots of changes happened during that time.
I think in terms of maybe lifestyle and how people live, COVID provided an opportunity for people to really think about that. Because I think lockdown, especially when people did not have the opportunity to go outside, I think people appreciated when they could go out again. And then you started to see more people taking an interest in being out in nature, for example, forest walks, that sort of thing. But I think people could draw not just the connection between nature and the environment, but nature and our health, and how important it is to to protect the natural world, because it helps sustain us, it helps us live.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that COVID made a massive difference just to the psyche of people and how people feel about the natural environment. Definitely, yeah.
Because I used to live on Canvey Island seafront, and every day we was going out walking, and I just noticed such a different feeling.
Yeah.
People were different, you know, the air was different. I wouldn't particularly go and jump into the river in the Thames. You know, we're talking about swimming in the Thames, which is, but it was beautiful, the water. You know, it was a massive difference. You know, because we wasn't seeing so many ships going up and down the Thames. We didn't hear good old EasyJet flying over, because we live quite close to Southend. We get the EasyJet planes. We didn't hear no noise.
But it changed the way that we work as well, which ultimately changes the way we live too. You know, so we're now in this new era of hybrid or flexible working, which means maybe people are driving less because they're not having to commute every day. So that also has an impact on, I guess, air quality and air pollution. You know, so there's definitely been a slight shift post the pandemic and post 2020 for sure.
So with this role you have now, obviously you've got guides, so you've got direction from your above, telling you where. What are the personal things you're enabling to bring? What's your personal goals that you're bringing into your role? Can we touch on them?
Yeah, from a more personal perspective, I think for me it's more about supporting residents. So there's the community engagement aspect of things. There's maybe the education aspect of things as well, and I would really love to understand more what people's interests are and what sort of projects they would like to do. I think for me, I'm very keen to kind of get feedback from local people, from residents. What are they interested in? What part of the sustainability picture do they really care about? And how can the local authority, in my case, in this particular role, how can I facilitate that and how can I support that? So that's the personal side.
What's the process of engaging with residents now?
So at the moment, we've got different projects that I am looking to kind of kick off,
right?
Or, you know, sort of get off the ground. But a lot of that will include reaching out to different groups that already exist within the borough. There are loads of people, you'd be surprised, who are already taking some form of climate action. Yeah. So it would really kind of be just about reaching out to them and seeing what they're doing and how can the local authority support you in that. Yeah.
And do we, as an authority, have targets? Is there targets we're heading towards?
We are working very closely with county, so Essex County Council, and we also have we've got a corporate plan as well. So there are targets, light targets that we are working towards, and things that we would like to achieve in the next few years. So definitely there are targets. There are also, I would say, our aims and objectives, you know, in terms of what we plan to do for the future, but we're being realistic as well in terms of what we can actually achieve. Obviously it's lovely to have grand plans of, you know, we'd love to do this and we'd love to do that, but what's realistic and what can be achieved given specific time frames. And, you know, we're working closely with our councillors as well to kind of bridge that gap and bring things together. Yeah.
And do you personally have short-term and long-term goals yourself?
I have personal short-term and long-term goals for the role, absolutely, because I think for me, success looks like more engagement, more people having an idea of what even happens in the council. So for me, yes, definitely some short-term, but also long-term goals, yeah.
And you've got a young family as well. That's important for you to show them the path forward. Yeah. What sort of things do you do at home?
So with my little ones.
Sorry if I'm putting you on the spot here.
No, it's fine. I've got 2 little kids. They keep me very busy. But with my little ones right now, because they're small, they love being outside. Yeah. My young boy particularly loves to bring me sticks. We're in that era where he just brings me sticks. So at the moment, the main thing is just exposing them to nature and exposing them to the outdoors. Yeah. And just kind of being free and noticing birds, noticing trees, you know, different rocks and stones. I think that's where, certainly for me when I was younger, that's where my love for the environment came from, because I was always outdoors. So I think for now while they're small, the main thing I'm doing is just exposing them to nature and having them be outside.
So I've interviewed quite a lot of people in the environmental sector as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 3 sectors as far as I'm concerned. There's the energy management sector.
Yes.
Where we're driving energy down and stopping people turn off, turn down.
Lowering emissions as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's the solar and the renewable side.
Mm-hmm.
So I should say the renewable section, which are making sure all our energy that we're using is a renewable source.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the environmental. So I always feel that there's a 3-pronged approach to this, to address this problem.
Yeah.
So I've interviewed a lot of people in the environmental sector.
Mm-hmm.
They all tell the story of how they started all of this thing when I was younger. It all comes from their childhood.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And I don't think I really understood how much of an impact my family background had on me until I got older. And now I'm in the sector, and you think back and you're like, yeah, of course, that makes complete sense. So like my family's Nigerian,
right?
And my parents grew up in Nigeria. My grandmother was a farmer, but Dad's mum had a farm. She grew crops that she sold, and that's how she was able to ensure that her children were able to go to school, because she paid for their education from the crops that she grew and she sold. So even growing up, my dad used to tell me, things like eating more sustainably, of course, because when you grow up in an environment when a lot of your food comes from nature, it's second nature to you to want to eat more sustainably, because the option of like eating junk food, for example, just wasn't there. So it's things like that I didn't realize has always kind of been a part of my life and my upbringing. So I think deep down inside, I've always cared about the environment, cared about nature, but I had a grandma who was a farmer.
Yeah.
So
when I live in Thailand, my nearest McDonald's is probably 100 miles away.
That's far!
My nearest Starbucks, this is the way I sort of correlate everything, is 50 miles away.
So you don't go there then?
No. We have got a Kentucky Fried Chicken down the road, which is
Okay.
close, but that isn't I'm a vegetarian anyway. But my highlight of my weeks, so Tuesday is market day.
Okay.
Amazing. I love market day.
Okay.
We have a routine regarding buying all our vegetables, and we come back with sacks of mangoes or sacks of avocados. And then Saturday morning is also market day. But to see all that stuff grow, we see piles of like garlic, and it's amazing to see.
So it's just part of the community. That's
exactly,
just how they live.
That is true. And then when we go to the market, we know the people. I know the people that are selling the stuff. And then, I think I showed you the pictures where we picked all our bananas. We've got some farm, and we picked all these bananas, and we took them on our mopeds, and we took them to and we got £6. And that was like the highlight of our, and that still happens today.
Does it feel different?
It feels amazing.
It feels different, right? When you're able to get your food
even
almost
when
from
I
the
grow,
source.
I've got 7 mango trees in my garden. They're only just still young. But I had my first mango. When I ate the first, it just tasted so differently. And it's a lovely feeling.
There you go.
And I can see what you're saying. I didn't really I've always lived in London, so I never had the sustainability farm. But I've always had fields in there that I used to play in, and etc. My biggest thing, what got me into it, being into energy, was I used to love taking things apart and not being able to put them back together. So I had to learn. My dad forced me to learn how to put them back together to become sustainable in that type of way.
Okay, but I think now we're in this kind of time where people are thinking about what sustainable actions they can take.
Yeah.
But I think people are starting to make the connections to other aspects of their lives. So we're talking more about having making more sustainable choices around the kinds of clothes that we buy, right? Can we buy secondhand, or could we repair things before we throw them out?
Yeah.
That's a more sustainable way of living. So we're talking about food, we're talking about fashion, we're talking about even the kinds of cars we drive. If we can't avoid car driving altogether, maybe we choose a car that's hybrid or electric.
So they're talking about car sharing now, aren't they?
Car sharing. There are so many things that so many actions you can take that don't necessarily add something on to just the way you normally live your life, but it's about thinking differently about your choices. So
let's touch on the future. I know you've been in this role. Tell us about the future and what your plans are.
So looking forward in my role, certainly for Castle Point, we do want to, again, support local people, support residents in taking action. We want to, for me personally, I want to have a more collaborative working experience within the council. So the good thing about my role is that I work very closely with waste and recycling, with estates, facilities management. I work very closely with, different people who work in different departments.
So you collaborate outside and inside.
And internally, exactly.
Amazing, yeah.
So where it may not be the sustainable or environment angle might not be very obvious, but actually it's very, very important that this is something that is across the board, across the council, and also with residents and local people. It's just seen as kind of business as usual, just part of our everyday working life. So that's my long-term goal. Brilliant. For climate change and sustainability, just to be seen as it's business as usual. Kind of how health and safety is. Right now, you don't even think about it subconsciously anymore, because health and safety is just always around.
It's amazing how that role, you have the health and safety role and you have the sustainability role now.
Exactly.
They go side to side.
They go side to side. So for me, that's looking forward. I would love for climate change, sustainability to just be business as usual. It's just what we do.
All right. You've been really great with this interview, and I know you're nervous at the beginning. I'm going to put you on the spot now.
Okay.
Is there anything that you can give back to our audience who are listening to this as a takeaway, something for them to think about?
Yeah, I've probably gone on and on and on about it, but you can take climate action. You can make choices or decisions that are more sustainable, and it does not have to be something that you necessarily are going out of your way to do. It can just be something that you do that is a different way of doing something. So for example, if you don't have to drive, or you can take a different mode of transport, maybe make that as an option. Or you could consider switching the lights in your home to make them more energy efficient. That would also save you money, right? Or you could consider, I don't know, maybe eating meat one less day a week, that sort of thing. So there are different climate actions or sustainability actions that you can take that don't necessarily mean you've got to do something grand in your day or switch up completely how you live.
I like that.
It doesn't have to be like that.
It's the tiny changes that make the prolific differences.
Absolutely. It's small. And actually, you tend to find that once you take one action, it's easier then to take the next action. You just get used to it.
It becomes the norm, doesn't it? It becomes
business
habitual.
As usual. It becomes business as usual. So that's the one thing, if I can say to anyone, if you're thinking about how can I be more sustainable, how can I make more conscious choices around anything, you can just make one tiny decision, and then it snowballs from there. Yeah,
and I see that every day in some of the stuff I've been doing. Just turning something off when you don't need it.
Right.
Simple things. I've got a whole list of things I could probably share. We haven't got time. We're coming close to the end of the interview, but there's so many things we can do. There are simple, tiny things. Keep it simple as well.
Keep it simple, absolutely.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, and then it won't feel so overwhelming. I think sometimes the sustainability and environmental conversation can feel a little bit heavy. Oh, the world's going to end because it's getting too warm, and and it can feel like it's almost like a doomsday. There's nothing we can do. I can't make any changes, but actually, small changes make a huge difference.
I'd like to think, if I wanted to give something back now, it's talking to you today is the terminology of everything, and try and simplify the language and the vocabulary. That's why I do these podcasts, is trying to share that vocabulary out to the world, and the expert telling the people, what we can be doing. Keep it simple. It's amazing. I'm glad you didn't come back and tell us some sort of scientific thing to do, and we don't need to do that.
No. And it confuses people. Not everybody understands, like you said, the terminology, the jargon, the language. It's a lot, unless you're already in this field or you're a scientist. But if you can keep it simple, it's best to do that, because then people it's easier for people to understand.
Well, Grace, thank you. I really appreciate me coming in. And yesterday I interviewed another guy from Nigeria.
Oh wow!
He lives in the UK, but his family have farm and a hotel.
Fabulous.
And they've brought the two together. So it's amazing how, Nigeria is such an impactful country for the environment. I've interviewed loads of people from Nigeria.
It is, yeah.
So thank you for continuing that theme, really.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Paul, for having me. I really appreciate that.
Brilliant. And you and your family stay safe in these times.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you to my guest for joining me today on Energy Speaks Back. I'm very proud and humbled to have the opportunity to interview energy experts from around the world, and I hope you found today's episode of value. Don't forget to listen to the previous episodes because they are full of insights to help you make a real impact on energy efficiency. And remember, tiny changes that we make today can bring us profound savings in the future. Together, we can drive change and make a difference. That leaves me with one more thing to say. Please, you and your family, be safe in these times.